I pull up to the oceanfront estate I legally own, and my heart stops dead in my chest. This is the same beach house I bought with my own hard-earned money, a place that was supposed to be my sanctuary. But as I look through the windshield, the front gate is firmly locked. I see colorful balloons tied to the pillars inside. Loud music is playing, and I can hear the distant sound of my family laughing. My phone buzzes in the cup holder. I look down to see a notification for a group chat I was never added to, annual Carter reunion. My sister, Brielle Carter, just posted a photo with the caption, "Best family tradition ever." So glad everyone made it. Everyone. Not me. I stare at the security keypad, which is part of a system I designed myself, and realize something deeply humiliating. They didn't just forget to call me. They deliberately left me out of a party happening at my own house. Then, my mother's voice carries through the outdoor speakers. Oh, thank God she didn't come. She always makes things awkward. My hands go cold as I realize I'm being treated like a guest who overstayed their welcome in my own home. Through the massive glass walls of the living room, I can see them clearly. My uncle is standing on my patio, grilling expensive steaks that I probably paid for during my last grocery haul. My cousins are splashing around in my infinity pool, their laughter echoing off the tiles. In the center of the room, my mother stands up to give a toast. She holds her glass high like she owns the entire property. Brielle is sitting right next to her, laughing and acting like the perfect hostess of the event. Not a single person is looking toward the driveway. No one is asking where I am or why the owner of the house isn't sitting at the table. I whisper to myself, this is my house, but the words feel like a lie. It feels like they have erased my existence from the very walls I built. I see a welcome sign on the front door, and when I squint, I realize my name has been completely erased from it. I feel like a ghost watching a world that decided it was better off without me. My sister looks so happy, and that realization hurts more than the locked gate ever could. I pull out my phone and check my messages one last time, hoping for a "where are you?" or even a fake excuse about a lost invite. There is nothing but silence. Then I find it on Instagram. Brielle has posted a series of stories. The location tag says, "Mom's favorite place." She hasn't tagged the property as being owned by Ella Monroe. To her and the rest of the world, this is just Mom's place now. I scroll through the comments and see people praising my mother for being such a wonderful and generous host. My mother is actually replying to them, saying things like, "It's a lot of work, but family is worth it." She is taking credit for the house I spent years saving for. She is acting like the provider while I sit in the dark, locked out of my own driveway. The betrayal feels heavy, like a physical weight on my shoulders. They have taken my home and turned it into a weapon against me. I look at the security keypad again. I know every wire and every line of code in that system. They think they are safe inside, but they forgot who holds the keys. I walk back to my car, my legs feeling a bit shaky. However, as I sit in the driver's seat, the sadness starts to fade, replaced by a cold, sharp clarity. I am the one who designed this entire security system. I spent weeks making sure every gate code, every smart lock, and every remote override was perfect. I did it to keep them safe, but tonight, those features are going to serve a different purpose. I realize that every single one of them is still logged into the guest accounts I created for them months ago. They are using my Wi-Fi to post their photos. They are using my smart home app to control the lights and the music. And right now, all of those accounts are still connected to my master admin dashboard. I pull out my laptop and open the security interface. The screen glows in the dark car, showing me the status of every door and window in the house. I can see the energy usage and the water flow. I have total control over the environment they are currently enjoying. I hesitate for just a second, my finger hovering over the mouse. Then I click the login button. I haven't acted yet because I want to see exactly how far they are willing to go. I sit in the dark and watch the live stream my cousin is broadcasting from the dining room. They are all sitting around the long mahogany table I picked out last summer. My cousin jokes loudly, crazy how Ella never uses this place. She's probably stuck in some boring office right now. A roar of laughter erupts from the table. My mother smiles and nods, adding, she's always been difficult. She doesn't know how to just relax and be part of the family. Brielle raises her glass and says, to family, without complications. They all clink glasses, celebrating the fact that I am not there to complicate things with my presence. I slowly set my phone down on the passenger seat. I don't feel like crying anymore. The complication they are so afraid of is about to arrive in a way they never expected. They wanted a reunion without me? Fine. But they aren't going to have it in my house. I navigate to the gate control panel on my laptop screen. My heart is beating fast, but my hand is steady as I prepare to make my move. At the dinner table, nothing changes for them at first. They are still laughing and passing around the dessert platters. They feel completely relaxed and secure. But then, I press the first command. The heavy front gate, the one I am sitting behind, begins to groan as it closes and locks into place. A notification pops up on the internal touchscreens throughout the house, system update initiated. I see Brielle glance at her phone, her brow furrowing in confusion. She probably thinks it's just a routine maintenance check. Then, I initiate the second command. The secondary back gate, the one that leads to the beach path, slides shut with a loud metallic click. Now, the property is a closed loop. They are no longer just having a party, they are inside a fortress that is starting to shut down. I watch the security camera feed as Brielle stands up and walks toward the window to look at the gate. She doesn't know it yet, but she is no longer the hostess. She is just someone standing in a house that doesn't recognize her anymore. I feel a strange sense of power as I watch her confusion grow. Someone at the table, probably my uncle, notices that the gate has closed. He walks over to the keypad near the front door and tries to type in his usual code. The screen flashes red. Error, access denied. He tries it again, slower this time, but the result is the same. He is locked out of the gate controls. Inside the house, I watch through the high-definition security cameras as the confusion begins to spread like a wildfire. My mother laughs nervously, trying to keep the mood light. Maybe the system just glitched, she says, waving a hand dismissively. Ella probably bought a cheap version. She has no idea that I am listening to every word through the built-in intercom system. They think this is a technical error, but I have already moved on to the next step. I have changed all the backup codes and deleted their temporary access profiles. They are now completely dependent on the master override, which only I possess. The laughter at the table has stopped. They are all looking at each other, realizing that no one can get the gate to open. They are trapped on the property, and the realization is starting to sink in. My phone begins to ring, breaking the silence of my car. The caller ID shows Brielle's name. I let it ring for a few seconds before I finally answer. I don't say anything, I just listen. Her voice is sharp and demanding. Ella, are you doing something with the system? She asks. I stay silent, letting the quiet put pressure on her. She continues, her voice rising in pitch. This is not funny, Ella. We are trying to have a nice dinner and the gates are acting crazy. Let us out right now. I take a deep breath and whisper into the receiver, you forgot to invite me. There is a long, heavy silence on the other end of the line. I can almost hear her brain working, trying to come up with a lie or a quick excuse. She doesn't say she's sorry. She doesn't say it was a mistake. Instead, she just hangs up without answering me. That tells me everything I need to know. It wasn't an accident. They knew exactly what they were doing when they planned this reunion. They just didn't think I would find out, or they didn't think I would have the nerve to fight back. Inside the house, the music suddenly stops. I have cut the power to the integrated sound system. The Wi-Fi begins to flicker as I throttle the bandwidth, making it impossible for them to stream or post any more photos of their perfect night. All the smart locks throughout the house reset themselves, shifting from guest mode to secure mode. This means they are now fully dependent on manual overrides for the interior doors, which are much harder to operate. My mother finally asks the question I've been waiting for. "Where is Ella?" Her voice is no longer dismissive, it is filled with a genuine, sharp panic. She starts pacing the living room, looking at the blinking red lights on the security panels. They try calling Marcus, the property manager I hired to handle the landscaping and repairs. I watch as my father pulls out his phone and hits speed dial. They are hoping someone else can fix the problem so they don't have to deal with me directly. But Marcus knows who pays his salary. He knows exactly who the real owner of this beach house is, and he isn't going to help them bypass my security. Marcus, the property manager, picks up the phone on the third ring. I can hear the conversation through the house's smart hub, which I have patched into my car's speakers. My father is shouting into the phone, demanding that Marcus come over and fix the broken gates. Marcus hesitates for a moment. I can tell he is uncomfortable, but he stays professional. "I'm sorry, Mr. Carter," Marcus says quietly. "I think Ella Monroe still has full ownership control over the security protocols. I can't override her admin settings from my end." The dining room goes completely silent. The sound of the ocean waves outside seems much louder now that the music is gone. Brielle snaps at her father, "That can't be right. Mom said she handled the paperwork for this place." But Marcus confirms it again, his voice steady. The deed and the security contracts are all in Ella's name. My father finally looks concerned. He sits back down in his chair, looking at the walls of the house as if he is seeing them for the first time. They have been living in a fantasy world where I was just a ghost, but the reality is finally crashing down on them. As I sit in my car, looking at the darkened house, I remember every single detail of the last 3 years. I remember the months I spent working overtime to pay for the custom mahogany decks. I remember the massive tax bills I covered when my parents said they were short on cash. I remember all the family contributions they promised to make but never did. Whenever we were here together, they always said, "This is our beach house." They used the word "our" to make it feel like a shared dream, but it was a dream I was funding entirely on my own. It was never ours. It was mine. I was the one who took the risks, and I was the one who did the work. They were just the people who showed up to enjoy the view and leave the mess for me to clean up. I realize now that they never respected my ownership because they never respected me. To them, I was just a bank account with a name they could ignore when it suited them. I reach out and click a button on my laptop to disable all guest network access. Inside the house, the situation goes from confusing to tense. The lights begin to flicker as I cycle the smart lighting system. The smart locks on the sliding glass doors shift to emergency mode, which means they can't be opened fully without the master code. Brielle starts shouting at the top of her lungs, "She locked us in. Ella is crazy. She's actually keeping us prisoner in here." My mother is shaking her head, refusing to believe that her difficult daughter would actually take control. But then, the house's central system voice activates. It's a calm, electronic voice that echoes through the hallways. "Admin override active, Ella Monroe. All guest permissions have been revoked." The realization hits all of them at once. The glitch wasn't a glitch. It was me. My father stands up and walks to the front window, trying to see into the darkness of the driveway. He can probably see the silhouette of my car sitting at the gate. They are trapped in a multi-million-dollar cage, and they finally know exactly who is holding the remote. The fun reunion has officially turned into a lockdown, and the silence in the house is heavy with fear. Brielle decides to try calling me again. I see her name flash on my screen, and this time, her tone is completely different. Gone is the sharp, demanding voice from 10 minutes ago. Now, her voice is soft and pleading, almost like a child's. "Ella, please. We didn't mean to hurt you," she says. "We just thought you were too busy with work to come all the way down here. We were going to call you tomorrow to tell you all about it. It's such a transparent lie that it almost makes me laugh. I ask her one simple question, so why wasn't I invited to the group chat, Brielle? Why did you tag the house as Mom's place on Instagram? There is another long silence. She doesn't have an answer for that. She knows I've seen the evidence. She knows that I caught her in the middle of a deliberate act of exclusion. I can hear my mother in the background, whispering for Brielle to just get her to open the gates. They still think this is something they can talk their way out of without actually admitting they were wrong. I am not going to make it that easy. My mother finally grabs the phone from Brielle's hand. Her voice is shaky, but she's trying to sound authoritative. Ella, this has gone far enough, she says. It was just a mistake. We all get busy and forget things. Now, stop being dramatic and open the gate. We have guests here who need to get home. I don't argue with her. Instead, I pull up the group chat logs that I managed to access through the shared family cloud. I scroll back to the beginning of the planning phase. I see the messages where they specifically discuss not telling me. I see Brielle's message saying, "Don't tell Ella, she'll just bring up the house rules again." I take a screenshot of the conversation and send it directly to my mother's phone. I hear the ping of the message arriving through the intercom. My mother stops talking immediately. She realizes that her mistake excuse has just been proven to be a total lie. She has no more words left. Brielle starts trying to blame someone else in the background, her voice becoming high-pitched and frantic. The peaceful family reunion is now a room full of people turning on each other. The blame game starts almost immediately inside the house. I can hear Brielle's voice echoing through the speakers. "It was Dad's idea," she shouts. "He said Ella wouldn't care if we used the place for one weekend." My father instantly denies it, his voice booming as he defends himself. The room becomes a chaotic mess of accusations and shouting. They are so busy fighting each other that they don't even notice me changing the Wi-Fi password for the final time. Now, they have no internet at all. No streaming music, no social media, and no way to call for an Uber. They are fully cut off from the outside world. I sit in my car and watch them through the glass, feeling a strange sense of detachment. I'm not angry anymore, I'm just observant. They look so small and desperate in that big house. They spent so much time trying to make it theirs that they forgot it only works because I allow it to. Without me, the house is just a series of locked doors and dark rooms. They have lost the comfort they took for granted, and they have no one to blame but themselves. I decided to get out of my car. I walk away from the gate and down toward the sand, letting the cool ocean breeze hit my face. From the beach, I have a perfect view of the house. I can see them through the massive glass walls, pacing back and forth like animals in a zoo. They are trapped by their own confusion and the consequences of their actions. They aren't in any real danger, of course. They have food and water and shelter. But they are trapped by the realization that they are no longer in control. My cousin tries to climb the side fence near the pool, but the security sensors trigger a loud, pulsing alarm. He jumps back down, looking terrified. The house is literally screaming at them to stop. I watch as my mother sits down on the sofa and puts her head in her hands. She finally looks like she understands the gravity of what she did. Someone inside suggests breaking a window to get out, but my father stops them. He knows how expensive that glass is, and he knows that breaking it would only make the legal situation worse. They are truly stuck. I decide to send one final message to the group chat, knowing they can see it on their phone screens even without Wi-Fi. "This house is not open access property tonight," I write. I watch as they all look at their phones at the same time. The message is short, precise, and impossible to misunderstand. Inside, the panic reaches a new level. My mother whispers to Brielle, she's serious. She's really going to leave us here. Brielle finally looks scared. She realizes that she can't manipulate her way out of this one. Her sister, the awkward one she tried to exclude, is the only person who can let them leave. They try to start negotiating again, sending me messages about how they will make it up to me and how next time will be different. But I don't want promises for next time. I want them to understand what they did this time. I want them to feel the same exclusion and isolation they tried to force on me. I stay on the beach, watching the moonlight reflect off the water, feeling more at peace than I have in years. Inside the house, my father finally does something he should have done a long time ago. He opens the property deed file that I sent to the family email account months ago. He reads it carefully, his eyes scanning the legal language. I watch his face change as the truth sinks in. Ella owns 100%, he says, his voice carrying through the house. The room goes silent again. Brielle steps back from the table, her face pale. They had spent so much time telling themselves that the house belonged to the family that they had actually started to believe their own lie. But the legal document doesn't lie. It shows my name, and only my name, on every single line. The mood shifts from anger to a deep, heavy fear of loss. They realize that if I can lock them in for a night, I can also lock them out forever. They are seeing the end of their tradition staring them in the face. My father looks at my mother, and for the first time, he doesn't look like he's on her side. The united front they built against me is finally starting to crumble. I don't want their money. I don't even want a fake apology that they don't really mean. Recognition, I answer. I don't say anything else. I want them to recognize that I am a person, not just a resource. I want them to recognize that this house exists because of my hard work, not their entitlement. I want them to recognize that you cannot exclude someone from the very foundation they built for you. They start to talk amongst themselves, reconsidering everything they said in the group chat. I can see them looking at each other with new eyes. The fun reunion has collapsed into an awkward, painful silence. They are finally having the conversation they should have had months ago. They are finally dealing with the truth of their behavior, and it is the most uncomfortable thing they have ever experienced. I wait for them to finish, my heart finally starting to settle. Inside the house, the atmosphere continues to fall apart. The guests, the cousins, and the uncles all look incredibly uncomfortable. They were happy to enjoy the beach house when it was Mom's place, but now that they know they are essentially trespassing on my property, they want to leave. The fun reunion has turned into a source of deep shame for everyone involved. There is no more music, no more laughter, and no more toasts. Just the sound of the ocean and the hum of the security system. They were celebrating in a house they excluded the owner from, and now they have to sit with that fact in the dark. Brielle tries to walk to the front door, hoping that maybe I've unlocked it, but the handle won't budge. She screams, "This is insane," and kicks the door, but it doesn't do any good. I stay quiet, watching from the beach. I am not being cruel, I am being consistent. They wanted a house without me, and now they have exactly that. A house that is empty of my spirit and full of their own regret. The exit gates remain firmly closed. The emergency override system requires my biometric scan or the master admin code, neither of which they have. Brielle is still screaming, her voice echoing through the quiet neighborhood. She sounds like a spoiled child who has finally been told no. But I stay quiet, just watching. I am not responding to her outbursts anymore. My mother finally breaks down emotionally. She sits on the kitchen floor and starts to cry, really cry. "We thought you didn't care about family anymore," she says through the intercom, her voice muffled by her sobs. That sentence hits me differently than anything else they've said tonight. It hits me because it's so obviously a lie they told themselves to justify their own bad behavior. I cared too much. That was always the problem. I cared enough to buy them this house. I cared enough to pay their bills. I cared enough to keep trying even when they pushed me away. I hesitate for the first time tonight, my hand moving toward the gate controls. Is this too much? Or is it exactly what they need to wake up? My mother continues to talk, unaware that I am considering unlocking the gate. We felt like you were always judging us with your success, she says. We just wanted one weekend where we didn't feel like we owed you anything. It's an incredibly selfish thing to say, but at least it's the truth. They excluded me because my presence reminded them of their own failures. They wanted to enjoy the fruits of my labor without having to acknowledge the laborer. That realization makes me feel more settled than ever. It wasn't about me being awkward or difficult. It was about their own insecurity. Knowing that makes the anger go away. I realize that I don't need to keep them trapped all night to make my point. The point has already been made. They have felt the weight of their own exclusion. I decide to reopen the internal access to the house. I don't open the gates yet, but I restore the Wi-Fi and the music controls. I want to give them one last chance to communicate honestly before I let them leave. I reopen the communication channels and the interior doors. Brielle's voice comes through the phone almost immediately, but this time, it's quiet. We were wrong, Ella, she says. There are no excuses this time. No blaming Dad, no blaming the system, and no claiming it was a mistake. It's just a simple admission of guilt. I can hear the rest of the family in the background, murmuring their agreement. They look defeated. They aren't the confident, laughing people I saw through the glass an hour ago. They are a family that has been forced to look at their own reflections, and they don't like what they see. I sit on the sand for a few more minutes, thinking about what to do next. I have the power to keep them there until morning, but I don't want to be the person they think I am. I don't want to be the complication. I want to be the owner. I decide that it is time to restore full access and end this night. I stand up and walk back toward my car, my mind made up. I reach my car and open my laptop. I begin to unlock the gates, one by one. I do it slowly, making sure they can hear the mechanical clicks as the locks disengage. I am not doing this as revenge, and I am not doing it because I've forgiven them. I am doing it as a form of boundary setting. I am showing them exactly where the power lies. The front gate swings open, the metal screeching slightly in the quiet night. I watch as the family begins to stream out of the house in total silence. There is no more celebration left in them. They carry their bags and their leftover food to their cars without saying a word to each other. They look like people fleeing a disaster. Brielle is the last one to leave the house. She stops at the front door and looks back at the driveway. She can see me sitting in my car, the interior light casting a soft glow on my face. She looks at me for a long time, but she doesn't wave or say goodbye. She just gets into her car and drives away, her headlights disappearing into the distance. Days later, I am sitting in my office when I receive a message from Brielle. Next year, we will do it right. With you, it reads. I don't respond immediately. I don't know if there will be a next year, or if I even want there to be. I realize that I don't need their reunions to feel like I belong. I belong to myself, and I belong to the life I built. I didn't lose a family reunion that night, I lost a cage of expectations. I lost the need to be accepted by people who only want what I can give them. I spend the afternoon updating the security system at the beach house. I add a new, permanent rule to the master admin dashboard: no events without owner invitation approval. I also change the primary gate codes and remove all guest accounts. If they ever come back, it will be because I invited them, not because they helped themselves. I close my laptop and lean back in my chair. I'm not angry, and I'm not sad. I am finally, for the first time in my life, respected. I take a deep breath and feel the weight finally lift from my chest.